What is up, everybody? I have 19 seconds to go until people could hear me. God bless the red line on the top. We will be recording in 5, 4. Oh my God. What's going on? Revolters. We are brought to our final incredible segment of today. I'm going to give a quick intro, high-level intro to the 4 presenters today of Revolt Demo Day. So we have this RevStack 2.0 Demo Day. We've been doing this every month. It's bringing together new technologies with buyers in the market or looking to understand more every single month for the last couple of years. And we've connected young companies with incredible buyers of their product to really grow their brands in the space and help these GTM leaders find tools to meet their needs in the new generation, right? So this Demo Day is our first time doing it at our annual conference. I couldn't be more excited. We have 4 speakers today, which are incredible. nRev, Breakout, Fullcast, and Leandata. They will be presenting one at a time, starting now. The rules are everybody has 10 minutes, not a minute more. If you see a tool that you like, comment, please. If you want us to connect you with the founders, hit me up. Or if you have any questions, ask them. Because they only have 10 minutes, they may or may not have the chance to answer them right there, but that's fine. You can continue the conversation in our community after. Thank you all for being here and welcome to the RevStack Demo Day.
Thank you, Jared. Well, welcome everybody to our first session of Demo Day. I'm Manuel, and I'm very happy to introduce you to our first lineup for today, Breakout. They are an inbound AI SDR that identifies visitors, qualifies leads, and books meetings straight from your website. Breakout increases the inbound pipeline by up to 40%. So with that, please welcome Sachin, founder of Breakout, who's going to show us their product.
Thanks, Manuel and the RevGenius team for doing this. I'm Sachin, the founder at Breakout. Excited to be presenting Breakout to you today. Like Manuel said, we are an AI inbound SDR that helps you convert more of your website visitors into hand raisers. Think of hand raisers as form signups, self sign-up, or like booking a meeting with your rep. And we go beyond that. We, as a full cycle inbound SDR, we can do instant research. We can follow up via email. Essentially, whatever your inbound SDR is doing today, we do that on autopilot. We are a leader in G2. We have had the fortune of working with some very good names in the industry. And we've also been identified as top AI company, both by TechRich as well as SaaStr. Like I said, Breakout delivers a 30 to 40% increase in your existing pipeline. So you can actually grow your qualified pipeline without having to grow top of your funnel traffic. Most B2B websites today, the problem is that most B2B websites today convert at less than 1%. Often, many of them are at 0.5% or in that range. And as marketers, we spend millions of dollars top of the funnel to essentially build that pipe. What that means is by converting so little of that traffic, we are leaving a significant amount of pipeline on the table. And that's essentially where Breakout comes in. So to understand what that really means is, imagine you are a GTM provider, like you're a company in the GTM space, and the following 3 visitors land on your site. A CRO who clicked on an ad that you're running against your biggest competitor, a CFO who's coming from a company that is already in discussion with your team, so it's part of an active open opportunity, and an intern who saw your post on LinkedIn and they land on your site. This is what all of them see today. These are very different buyers at very different stages of their buying journey. And yet we serve the exact same experience to all 3 of them. And that's what essentially Breakout helps you change. We go from one site that fits one to a personalized experience of each. And I know that the problem for quite a bit of time, but the problem with previous generation of solutions was that they relied solely on changing, let's say, your headline copy. So it was very little real estate that one could play around with. And second, they did not have all that rich data that we do available to make those to deliver those personalized experiences. So I'll come back to this, but essentially, these are all the different visitors that are coming onto your site. And the breakout agent has awareness of who's who, what they might be interested in, and it can surface up the right action. So let's understand a little bit more detail how our inbound SDR helps you convert more of your website visitors. Breakout understands your product. It's trained on all your website content, your unstructured data like videos, guide, docs, demo assets, whatever you have goes into its training. Breakout also understands your buyer segment. So it understands who you sell to, who's a potential right fit customer, what's your ICP. It then identifies website visitors based on different data sources that we collect from third-party platforms like demand-based people data lab. So we waterfall through multiple of those data sources to give you the highest level of contact as well as the company level identification. It combines that information with first-party data, for example, UTMs, that informs the agent whether people are coming in by clicking on ads or they're coming in from clicking an email. In that case, we know exactly who the person is. We read the CRM footprint. So it could be a company that is a closed, lost opportunity from the previous year, but now getting activated, or traffic coming in from somebody who's already part of an active open opportunity. Maybe different people within the organization are trying out the product, or somebody who downloaded an asset or watched a video in the past. We have awareness of all of that, and then obviously we track website activity to see whether they're visiting high intent pages, are they checking out pricing, so on and so forth. And based on all of that, Breakout surfaces the right next step that is suitable for that particular person. So going back to our previous example, if it's a CRO coming in from a company by clicking on your Google ad against your competitor, they probably are interested in learning more about, how do you stack up against that specific competitor? And if you can show up a case study that is relevant to that specific user, be it based on the segment of the company or the industry or the size of the company they're coming from, then that's like a home run because you've caught the buyer at where they are in their buying journey. Likewise, the CFO coming in from an active open opportunity is more bottom of the funnel. They're probably less interested in your product pages. They're more interested in justifying the economic value of the product. So you surface up an ROI calculator. And to top of the funnel traffic, maybe an introductory video is the right thing to do. So the breakout agent has awareness of all the visitors and understand what content is fit for what person, and then surface it up. So, going back to this, a repeat visitor from a SaaS company may be interested in seeing pricing. Somebody coming in from G2 is probably interested in seeing comparison content. And then somebody clicking on an email from the accounts that you're sending emails to is probably the perfect fit. And you want them to get in front of your sales team as quickly as possible. But our inbound SDR doesn't just stop at converting your website visitors. We do multiple other things that surround it. So for example, we are already identifying who's visiting your site, and we surface up this rich information for your SDRs to not only see what accounts and what contacts are visiting your site, but we also tell you what is the relevance of these accounts based on the ICP definition. And we can do custom research on your accounts to save time for your SDRs and to really work on highest priority accounts. I already mentioned this, we can hand off your most important prospects to the reps in real time. So probably you don't want to talk to every website visitors, but then there are these 20, 30% of the accounts that you care deeply about. And it's very well known that the 80% of the times companies end up choosing the vendor that responds the first to them. So we really help you compress that time to speed to lead and thereby increasing conversion. And finally, if after doing all of this, you're not able to convert the visitors while they're on the site, we can then follow up with them via email, sending them personalized emails based on what they were browsing, what was the conversation with the agent while they were on the site. And we automatically enrich the right account details. We enrich the right people information that you need to be able to send these emails to the right persona. So that's in a nutshell. Breakout is your AI in MongoDB. Now, what I'll do very quickly is to give you a quick experience of what that journey looks like when a user lands on your site. So this is our website. You can always go and try it out and see what that experience is. I quickly want to show you the multimodal experience that we deliver. So Breakout can take all your multimedia assets like video, demos, ROI calculators, and it creates that concentrated content library, which it can then recommend depending upon who the user is and where they're coming from. So this is how potential video content would show up. This is how we can surface up your product tours. As marketers, we are creating all of this, high quality content, which is languishing in, buried deep within these different pages. We help you surface those up depending upon who that user is and where they're coming from. And finally, let me also show you the product in action on our HubSpot agent trained, our agent trained on HubSpot website. Imagine you are a visitor who clicked on an ad. Let's say HubSpot is running ad against Braze, and I clicked on that ad and landed on the landing page. Two things happen here. The first is you show me content which is relevant to Braze. So you're identifying the comparison intent. And based on the industry that you're coming in from, we've identified the person is coming from fitness and wellness brand. So we are surfacing up content that speaks not only to the buying intent, but also to the industry of the person. Likewise, another example would be when somebody lands on the site, and let's say they were they were sent an email and they clicked on that email and then they landed on that particular on your site. Are you still able to see my screen? So in this case, I think there is some, my screen share didn't happen. Yeah. 1 second. Yeah, so in this case, the person clicks on the email address and lands exactly on this page where the agent knows that the person is coming in from ClassPass, and it can surface up a very relevant case study to that user because we know exactly who that person is. And then finally, all our experiences, like I said, are multimodal. So if there is a question to which we answer, which requires a video to be pulled up, we'll bring that up. So in a nutshell, Breakout acts as your full cycle inbound SDR, offering highly personalized experiences to website visitors while they're on the site, as well as following up with them after they left.
Thank you, Sachin, and the Breakout team. This was awesome. Really appreciate you walking us through that. All right, everybody. I'm now back with nRev. nRev is a tool that's on a mission to reduce the complexity and cost in B2B go-to-market. The next motion, experiment, and hypotheses to validate will not require a new tool. Rather, agents built from simple prompts in English will automate all busy work and automations on the nRev platform. So please welcome the founding team of nRev, who will walk us through that product now. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Manuel. Give me 1 second to get to the slides. Perfect. So good afternoon, everyone, the RevGenius family. I'm Shanto, co-founder and CEO at nRev. It's a pleasure to be amongst the best of the GTM strategists in business today. Now, as GTM strategists, how many of you have signed up to learning engineering skills or becoming tech connoisseurs? I don't think any of you all, right? You are the storytellers who can turn heads. You have the most brilliant intuitions about growth hacks. Your superpower is turning strangers into champions. Instead, your complex GTM tech is limiting how you're growing your business. The tail is now wagging the dog. So buying 10 new point solutions every quarter or spending hours with engineers babysitting automations is not your job, to be honest. You want to be in the business of growing your company, not in the business of being a tech sifter. It really doesn't have to be this way. The complex stack and the interactions that have to be continuously patched together by engineers. So here's nRev. Let me show you how you will never again have to think about how or shop for a new tool every new motion that you want to try. So there are two ways in which I'll actually show you, how you can build out any automation or any of the agents that you want to build out today on nRev. One is by simply just expressing what you want to build or writing your requirements down in detail. Now, this initially might look complicated, but that's pretty much it, by the way. And this is not built by me. What I did was I wanted to solve this simple problem that every GTM person in my team literally had to spend hours to find out the relevant stakeholders and the personas that we look to tackle, right? So say I just wanted to build an application, and all that I wrote was, just listen to a Slack channel. Whenever you hear a message, find out the account name that this person has mentioned that they want to find the stakeholders for. From that, just find the relevant people. And for me, the relevant people are here, RevOps and marketing leaders. Then just classify them and return it back to Slack. Simple workflow, but it still takes away hours from us, every GTM person in our team. Right now, just as I write that, this pretty much takes like 2 or 3 minutes, which is why I wanted to kind of write it in advance. It breaks down the problem into steps and finally comes up with a plan. Now, at this point, I also wanted to point out different parts of the plan because a lot of us have been continuously hearing about agents. And well, if you've tried building agents, you would know it's still difficult, right? We wanted to build a platform that is for non-technology people who do not need to understand engineering or any bit of technology to kind of get in and start building agents. So what this tells you is that it will first listen to listen to any new messages from Slack, extract the company domain because that is required to search for people, find people which are relevant to us, that is RevOps and marketing people, classify those contacts. This is a bit of magic that happens here, and then filters out the ones that are not necessary or not relevant for us, and kind of pushes the same message back to the Slack thread. That is exactly what I've done. I've kind of approved the plan, created none of this, right? And one interesting thing you will notice is that even finding people or finding any information like social listening, our website visitor information, our signals for any organization that we are trying to target, all of this do not need API calls or you having to look for data providers that will give you that information. There are 70 plus different kinds of information that is useful in GTM that is already plugged in, and we are continuously expanding on that. So you will see that here is Apollo built in. We are an official partner of Apollo. So you can use this or any other company finding mechanism as well, which is already built in. So there's no API here. Just put in, I didn't put in the company domains. The AI kind of configured it. And we are looking for a few relevant keywords, right? Now, one problem that we continuously face is if we cast a wider net, as in I'm looking for revenue operations people, but if I type in operations, I know DevOps or a content ops or something of that sort can come up. But I also don't want to cast a small net and miss out on people. So here's what gives you ultimate flexibility. You cast a wider net, you get all the people, then use an AI that goes through all these people, 64 people that are coming in. And by the way, at any point in time, you're continuously able to preview the data. So let me just show you that all these 64 people are available for you to kind of go in and look through. But let me actually show you once the AI has actually done this filtering out. I mean, there are some interesting personas which otherwise would have been very difficult to capture. For example, I started with Web Engage. I'll show you how I started anyway. But for example, lead campaign ops. Now we know that this is a marketing persona, but we would have definitely never been able to capture this by just keywords because campaign is definitely not a keyword that you would be looking for, right? Well, once you've built this in, this work that is done on a daily basis by different, your different teammates, GTM teammates, it's done forever. They just have to go in and say that find people on Web Engage. That's it. They find all these relevant people continuously being populated here, right? And you can just type in plain language, find people in, let's say, Sprinto, right? That's it. And this application constantly hears your Slack, for example. But I could just plug and play this and remove the Slack with a CRM and see that whenever a new contact or a new account is created, I want to add all the account stakeholders to that account. So that's as simple as that. Well, the second way to use nRev is even more interesting. So we already have built out a lot of templates that we call plays. And think about it this way, that the next tool you're looking to purchase, before you pay upfront and buy that tool, you can just come in and sift through this data set to see if it is already there. And in most cases, I can tell you that it's there. In fact, we were listening to some of the use cases that were being discussed in the previous sessions. And over the next 1 week, all of those use cases, including the ones that were talking about, having call recordings, further taking out some points from it, to populating in your CRM, etc., all of them are going to be there. And in fact, I was thinking about, kind of showing one of the motions that we use for ourselves, where we kind of look for LinkedIn posts which talk about problems that we can address, and then kind of treating them as very high intent leads and talking about the exact nuance of the problem that they were expressing over LinkedIn. But let me not show in that, because I actually saw that there were a lot of takers for competitive takedown. So here's a very interesting, pre-built automation that is there. Imagine you can actually have a sneak peek into your competitor's pipeline. That means the accounts that they are currently chasing in their pipeline is what will be visible to you, right? So you just go in here, use play. Something very complicated might come up, but I don't need to worry about any of this. I just go in here and ask, what is happening here, right? And I just wanted to understand from an output perspective, what will I get? Right? It tells me that you get an instant Slack alert whenever a competitor's sales representative interacts with a LinkedIn post from someone who fits your ICP. Right? So we already know that reps are fairly selfish in terms of the activities and the people they engage with. In fact, there was a study already that 85% of their engagement is pretty much on their prospects or the customers that they're dealing with. So that is captured, right? And then you have an active activity database, which over time builds up to tell you which account is being engaged the most by the most number of competitors, as well as where you see the most amount of activity. And so that's what it tells you. And then finally, this is the question of the millennial. How do I need to input? What do I need to input or change in this play to customize it for my company? And it'll tell you exactly the nodes that you have to get into. For example, you don't have to worry about how LinkedIn post is being scraped, but I'll just show you, for example, comments or likes or reactions to comments, etc., are all as simple as just this, but you don't have to build it. But getting back to what you have to edit is exactly mentioned here. For example, your competitor list is what you have to edit, and it exactly gives you the CSV format in which you have to relay that. Your ideal customer profile, your target personas, your Google Sheet where you want to create this database, and finally a Slack channel where you want these notifications to be constantly being relayed. Right, so that's it. That's all the 5 things that we need to share. In fact, we've measured sessions of us where people have imported this within 10 minutes, and other plays that are available as well. Let me quickly actually show you how that looks as well. So this is very interesting. So for example, we find this account called Axiom, which is being targeted by one or more competitors. We see that the senior account executive, Robert Banther at HighSpot, is interacting with this person who is an ICP and a target persona. Then we see that the same person is actually interacting with another target persona within that week itself. And there's more. Again, the same person interacting with another target persona. Right? You also get exactly the comments that they post. For example, congrats, Cheryl, on the promotion. But in also a lot of cases, the funny thing is that we actually get to even see that we are happy to start our engagement with you, things of that nature, which gives an absolute giveaway to the fact that they're kind of being engaged. Right? So that's pretty much on how to use different parts of nRev. I'll just come back to one last slide on closing. Right? So nRev is an AI orchestrator where it actually works without having any technical knowledge. It is like what we wanted to build is the balance between AI automation to build out these deterministic steps, but also have the ultimate human control. That means each of these steps will exactly function as the way you want. The next time you ask for, let's say, an account research or even an account plan, it will not go awry for even a single section that you want to get. And finally, as always, it's easy to use in the sense that it's built for GTM personas and for the GTM ontology. So next time you talk about a champion, you talk about your funnel, these are words that the nRev understands very closely. It adapts to your systems, understands your system schemas, etc., to keep your automations going at all points in time. Thank you so much, guys. That was my time here. Back to you, Manuel.
Awesome. Thank you very much for that session. Really appreciate it. That was excellent. So everybody, that was nRev. We'll take a few minutes break here, and then at this top of the hour, we'll be back on with Fullcast. So take a quick break, and we'll be back on shortly. All right, everybody. We're actually going to get started a little early. That way we have a few extra minutes here for the Fullcast team. So hey, everybody. We're back on with Fullcast now. Fullcast helps your revenue team plan, perform, and get paid with the industry's first end-to-end revenue command center. Please welcome Peter Bureau, Account Strategy Director at Fullcast, who will walk us through their product. Peter, over to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Manuel. So happy to be here with you all at Revolt. So as Manuel was saying, Fullcast is a end-to-end, plan to pay system. Today we'll be talking specifically about the Pulse product, formerly known as Atrium. So the Pulse product is purpose-built for GTM organizations to automate performance management to ensure your sales reps are actually coached and held accountable. And what am I talking about here? Well, realistically, frontline managers and sales organizations have one of the hardest jobs in the world, right? As part of that, they're pulled in 27 different directions at all times by their reps, by their leaderships, by their ops teams. And as a result, they really struggle to manage reps consistently and proactively, especially in an organization that is focused on being a more data-driven sales organization. And why is that, right? It's usually because we're not enabling them enough. Right? They have limited bandwidth. They're rolling up forecasts. They're dealing with their reps' problems. They're unsticking deals. And how do we enable them to make decisions? Well, we give them bulky BI. We give them Salesforce dashboards and say, hey, here's 1 million data points. Go figure it out. Right? We want to solve that. They get overwhelmed by having to monitor those dashboards day in and day out because simply they don't have enough time. And then fast forward to a one-on-one between a manager and a rep. What happens? The manager's hesitant to hold them accountable, right? Because one, maybe they don't have the data they need to do so. They don't have the time to look at the full picture and be a data analyst. So it doesn't happen. And as a result, you get performance issues in your organization and performance gaps. So what are we doing about it? So Fullcast Pulse is an easy to use go-to-market specific BI that talks to you. Right? So we're taking in all of your data from all of your most important sales data sources, the CRM, email, calendar, gong recordings, et cetera. And what we've built is a system that is not only easy to use if a manager does want to sit around on a Friday night, with a glass of wine in hand playing data analyst, but also automates the process of data collection, data understanding, really trying to transform that world of data rich, insight poor. So what we've built is an AI direct sales coach on top of all of that data that speaks to all of your reps every day, so they're getting the messaging on the things that your revenue organization cares about, the metrics, the behaviors that you've prescribed. We automatically track any goals and benchmarks that are set on any of those metrics to help define what good looks like and help reps understand and managers understand how they're pacing towards those items. And then finally, we're a co-pilot for every one of your frontline managers and leaders in your organization, delivering like an analyst would without that analyst overhead. So before we hop into the product, really quickly, when does this problem become worth solving with something like Fullcast Pulse powered by Atrium? Realistically, the symptoms that you'd be looking for in your organization is no matter how much at the top we're kicking and screaming, your CRO, your VPs of the behaviors and levels and expectations that want to be seen, we're prescribing that. And then there's a gap. It's just not happening in reality as we get to the boots on the ground. Second reason that revenue organizations would look at something like this is they've built out that BI team. They have analysts. They're giving these reports to managers and reps, but it's just not affecting change. They don't have the attention of the organization, or maybe it's just not aligned. And then finally, very common use case, especially today's day and age where efficiency is king, revenue operations and data team resources are just too limited to be giving weekly analysis, almost like a weekly QBR write-up for every rep and every manager in your organization. So they just don't have the information they need to really succeed and drive your performance initiatives. So let's go ahead, we can pop into the platform here and I'll show you a little bit of what I'm talking about. Alrighty, so this is Atrium. So what you're looking at here is an organization, their priorities around prospecting, deal control, cross-sell, and all of this is built on dozens and dozens and dozens of out-of-the-box KPIs, automatically ingesting all of your data, no need to actually build anything. So no bandwidth for your RevOps team. What's happening here is all of these data points, they're really like Lego blocks built to help your team perform in the areas that matter, are being statistically analyzed, whether that's a team or a rep against another team or a rep who is doing the same role. Or maybe we want to understand how things are changing over time on specific metrics we care about, like contacts engaged per account, right? Or maybe we need to understand how people are progressing towards a goal that we've set, right? Or maybe we need to understand how a bunch of ramping reps are doing compared to reps who have ramped before them. And again, don't have that time to go digging through dashboards and diving through dashboards to figure it out. All of that statistical analysis is happening here on the right automatically. And what do you get out of it, right? You get an analyst write-up at any level of the organization on demand that you need. So right now I'm logged in as like a sales leader or a CRO. Every Monday morning, they're getting this write-up in their inbox, letting them know, hey, these are the areas and teams you should be focused on given the initiatives you've programmed into the system, right? We can see shout outs like, hey, we're sending a lot more email outreach as we're prospecting. That's good. What are the problems I need to look at though? Well, we've set expectations about how many self-set demos people are actually sending, right, or creating through their prospecting efforts. And we can see the JP team, the Gamma team, the Chef team, and the Fife team, they're all missing those targets we've set. We need to address that. Maybe it's because we're seeing a decline in call activity. Maybe it's because we're seeing a decreased level of contact engagement as we're going out into the accounts that are assigned to us, right? It's just here to make it very easy. Now let's talk about going down a layer. Let's pretend we are that frontline manager, right? We have a team meeting every Monday where we need to address, hey, what are we going to focus on as a team right now? What's going well? You know, what are the areas we need to double down? They are given that script for that Monday morning meeting, that jumping off point of, yeah, okay, we need to talk about some things from product, we need to talk about some things from marketing, but what are we doing as a team? Hey guys, high five, our average contract values are going up like we've been talking about. You guys are really hustling in terms of getting out there and prospecting with your email and call efforts. We're reducing the number of stuck opportunities that are sitting in the funnel for too long, floundering. But what do we have to continue to work on as a team? Well, guys, we're seeing a big drop off in our conversion rate from our develop stage, from stage 1 to 2. That's going to be a problem in a couple of months as we think about our pipeline. Flunky, Rob, Vulture, Lucille, Jay Audubon, let's talk about how we can unstick some of these deals, make sure we're not losing too early, or discuss the quality of those opportunities coming in from the inside sales team. We're also behind on our self sets, right? If we're getting lower quality ops, maybe from the SDR team, hey, we gotta pick up the slack. You know, Flunky, Vulture, Lucille, you're all behind here. Let's pick it up, right? So they're getting all of this information right when they need it ahead of any meeting on demand. Or maybe I'm reviewing this on a Friday and I want to send people off and say, hey, like, you know, Flunky the Baboom here, you know, I actually just want to give them a high five. I know they're having a hard time right now. Something's going on in their life. I'm just going to send them off into the weekend with something nice, right? So pulling in that relevant data of things they are doing very well and just giving them that shout out, right? Just at your fingertips. Finally, let's say you're looking through this as a frontline manager and you're really concerned about pipeline because you're seeing these self-set and these conversion rate questions happening, right? You can come in and just ask sales coach, you know, who on my team is doing well with pipeline right now? Who is doing poorly, right? And it'll actually just generate that new prompt. It'll search through all of the insights that we're seeing that could be applied to pipeline, and it'll do that work for you, right? It can do things like write your performance management reviews. It can do things like write a PIP if you need to. It can help you generate a QBR, all based on the data and the rails your team has put in place. Furthermore, let's talk about reps. Let's talk about one-on-ones. We go into a one-on-one, the last thing that we want to do is give them a blank piece of paper, right? All too often, what do we do when we walk in as managers into a one-on-one? Well, we end up talking about deals. There's nothing wrong with that, right? Everyone needs to be working through those deal problems, making sure that we're unsticking deals, progressing deals. We all have a forecast that we need to hit. But what happens when we lose sight of leading indicators or other behavioral situations that are going to hurt those deals 2 months down the road, a quarter down the road, a Q+2 down the road? We need to always be in front of those things. So if I was to walk into a one-on-one with a rep, I want my managers having that script. I want to know, hey, are they actually doing these things that I'm asking for? It looks like my screen is frozen. Let me restart my share here. Sorry, everyone. There we go. So what you're seeing here is actually the fact that, I'm walking into a one-on-one. This has actually been emailed to the rep and myself as the manager ahead of that meeting on a schedule you've determined. It's going to give us all of the information on exactly where the rep is doing well and the areas that we can choose to talk about in terms of things like, performance or accountability or areas in their sales motion they're struggling. We can just click through that data. We can look at why it's calling these things out. So in this case, this rep has a goal of how many self-set demos or conversations they should be having on a monthly and quarterly basis. And while we can see they're a little behind pace right now to hit those goals on a quarterly and a monthly basis, we can see what's happening is within the last month or within the last 30 days, this behavior has really fallen off a cliff. Right. So this is more of a conversation about consistency and accountability as opposed to things like deal control, conversion rate, win rate, stuff of that nature. The second piece we can dig into here is the goal history. This is the scoreboard of the expectations we've set to the reps delivered directly to them week in and week out over Slack and email. So there's never a reason they can say, I don't know what's going on, or I didn't know this was happening, right? We can have that scoreboard of how frequently are they hitting all of those goals week in, week out, month in, month out, and on a quarterly basis, as well as start to influence early in a quarter. Hey, how are we pacing towards this given how you've paced in prior quarters? Where are we pacing well? Like things from, conversion rate from stage 1 to stage 2, and where are we pacing, a little behind pace, like things like AE self-sets, or really behind pace, like the average contract values of the deals we're signing. Again, this is all built on top of an actual BI system. So you also have all those things in there, like dashboards, all of that stuff that you need. But again, the idea being, hey, let's make this easy. Let's democratize the data. Let's get the insights so we can actually perform as a team using that data and make good decisions. All right.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Peter. That was great. Everybody, that was Fullcast. And now it's time for Leandata, which we'll be switching over to here now. So hey, everyone. Leandata is up next. It's a company that is helping B2B organizations grow smarter by connecting every part of their go-to-market strategy. While they're best known for intelligent lead routing, Leandata does so much more. Their platform unites buyer signals and automates the right actions across teams, turning every moment in the buyer journey into real revenue impact. Please welcome Mike, Head of Revenue Operations, and Rob, Senior Pre-Sales Solutions Consultants at Leandata, will walk us through the product now. Welcome to you.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. Can you all see my screen okay? Take that as a yes.
Let's do it, Rob. All right, thanks everyone. Really excited to be here from the Leandata team. So I'm Mike Masson, head of revenue operations, and I'm joined by Rob here on our solution consulting team, and we're both really excited to talk to you about Leandata, the intelligent go-to-market orchestration platform. So in terms of the agenda today, we're going to quickly talk about the key buyers that we're seeing in the go-to-market tech space, and specifically the responsibilities and the key initiatives that they're trying to prioritize in this new age of AI. We'll then talk about how Leandata is helping support those initiatives across these key buyers, and then jump specifically into the demo that Rob will kind of walk through here. So the key personas. So when we think about the go-to-market tech space, we see that there are primarily three, key offices that we're targeting in our industry. So the main, and the goal of this is to ultimately string through these three key personas and how we essentially align them across the go-to-market stack and across the kind of areas that we're playing in. So from a CRO perspective, this is primarily the main focus for CROs is revenue predictability. So as markets became more volatile and as businesses are reducing budgets, the chief CRO officer is looking to make sure that we have predictability in the business from a forecasting perspective, from an upsell, cross-sell perspective, all those mechanisms. The other key area that we're seeing is deal velocity. As AI becomes more prevalent in deal cycles, there's going to become more and more security reviews, tech reviews, and so that's elongating deal cycles. And so the CRO is tasked with figuring out how to drive velocity more effectively across their deals. And the last piece is the customer base. So protecting the customer base, driving as much value on the customer base as possible is another area that is kind of the key focus of the CRO department. From a go-to-market ops perspective, so RevOps, the marketing ops perspective, Rob, you want to jump back? Yep. The CX ops perspective, they're very much tasked with driving lead conversion. So as you all have heard the stat before, about 70+% of buyers have already gone through some form of deciding what type of solution they're interested in before they talk to sales. And so this is still a huge imperative that go-to-market operators are still figuring out how to more effectively convert leads into pipeline. Similarly, scaling the revenue processes across the marketing handoffs, from a lead perspective, from a AM to a CSM perspective, from a customer success handoff. So all of these revenue processes are still front and center for go-to-market operators to build out. And then the new area that has been around for a little bit, but is more prevalent today, is looking at risk and growth signals and figuring out how we more effectively orchestrate those signals across the journey. So those are some of the key things we're seeing in the go-to-market ops side. And the last one is the CIO. CIO is being tasked with getting value out of AI. I think everyone's seen the stats that are out there around there hasn't been so much value been extracted yet from AI use cases. And this is becoming more and more of a focus for enterprise businesses is to really realize the value of AI across the ecosystem. And so that's going to be still front and center in this industry, in this persona. And the other two ones would be scaling the data architecture and then making sure we have global compliance and security kind of built in. Again, as these AI models are becoming more embedded into our systems, there's going to be a focus on how that becomes more and more structured in terms of governance and compliance. And so when we think about these key buyers, the key things that they're focusing on in this new age of AI, one of the things that are hindering these personas to be able to kind of realize this value is some of the things that Rob's going to talk to a little bit here and how Leandata is helping support those problems.
Yes, thank you, Mike. So to recap, what are the go-to-market goals, right? It's predictability, scalability, growth, accountability, efficiency, and overall alignment. Now, what prevents them from getting those goals? And this is a good representation of that business problem, right? This is your go-to-market strategy. Each of these little nodes represents a specific customer or potential customer milestone along the buying journey. And each of those milestones has its own set of tools. And the problem is that those tools don't talk to one another, right? The buyer's data is fragmented. There are silos everywhere. And as a result of that, you've got missed signals, missed opportunities. You don't have that harmonious flow that allows you to get to those goals. So how does Leandata help this? Well, we introduced something called intelligent go-to-market orchestration that essentially connects all those systems together. And we serve almost as the connective tissue between those systems, right? So that we can take buying signals from whatever milestone they happen to be surfacing on. We align your data, we action your data, and we allow for full visibility and accountability to understand, what exactly happened, right? So big outcomes here: overall efficiency, scalability, growth, effectiveness, and really, not missing anything, which at the end of the day is going to help to drive revenue. So how do we do this? We do this by sitting natively within Salesforce for a managed package that allows a no-code, really business user-focused way to set up, manage, and execute these automations. Now, I can't show you that everything Leandata can do in just a couple of minutes. That would take me a day minimum. What I am going to show you is sort of the greatest hits package here of some of the things that we can do along the idea of intelligent go-to-market orchestration. So the first thing is going to be book it scheduling. So oftentimes the buyer journey starts with somebody filling out a form. Our book it tool allows you to evaluate that prospect, connect them with the right calendar in real time. I'll show you our orchestration, essentially the automation, alignment, and execution of go-to-market plays across the entire customer journey. I'll be showing you lead routing, but it applies to every object type, and then some of the reporting and analytics that we can do. So we're going to actually start with Book It for Forms. So I'm sure if you've bought software before, your journey started this way. You come to a website, you fill out your information, you click the button to submit it or to hear from somebody, and then there's crickets, right? And oftentimes this is where the journey not just starts, but ends. But with our Book It platform, the prospect here fills out their information, they hit Book Demo. Now in the background, Leandata is taking that prospect information, it's aligning it, so looking at like existing contacts, accounts, opportunities, it's evaluating it, and then it's coming up with the proper salesperson, it's suggesting a meeting type, and then it's allowing the prospect to book a meeting at their own leisure, right? So, okay, let's do 1:30 on Halloween, go ahead and schedule that meeting. So just there, we have automated in a matter of seconds the first process of what could be a very profitable buying journey, connected the prospect to the right person, and gotten that meeting on the books. And that activity is going to get passed through the Salesforce. We can act on that. So really starting things off on the right foot there. Next, I'm going to show you some of our orchestration capabilities. So as I mentioned, we're a managed package within Salesforce. Everything that we do is inside this no-code sort of WYSIWYG interface where you don't need to be an engineer to manage this. This makes it a very powerful tool because it is not only easy to use for your typical RevOps user, but it's also highly scalable, right? Changes take minutes, not hours, days, or even weeks. And you can really adapt to the speed of business, right? Which is not always the case if you're using like a code-based solution. So here's a very simple lead routing graph where leads come in. We could do the automatic triage and disqualification. Here's our matching layer, starting with lead to contact matching. Maybe we do dupe against existing leads. We then would match to an account using our best-in-class fuzzy matching algorithm, something like 95% accurate out of the box, which solves a real problem that exists in nearly everybody's go-to-market motion today. From there, we could do any number of things in terms of actioning the lead. We can route to a round robin pool and apply an SLA here, maybe do a Slack notification if they missed that SLA, or maybe we check for any existing opportunities, update the record as a high priority and action it accordingly. The point here is that there's a million different ways that you can action and automate your go-to-market motion. That's the idea of intelligent go-to-market orchestration. And not only that, but everything is fully trackable, right? So we have reporting and analytics. So you have the accountability layer there as well. Here, for example, is one of our SLA trackers where you can see just how long it's taking for people to follow up on leads. We also have a full auditability function and you can see exactly what happened and why. So if there's an error or something matches in a way that you didn't expect, you are able to go in there and really understand, what is it the system did and why did that outcome happen, which is, I don't know if you've ever tried to do this with code or with something like flows, but it's nearly impossible to do at scale. We make it very easy to understand exactly what has happened. So again, very brief overview. Like I said, it's really hard to show everything we can do in a number of minutes. But I'll hand it back to Mike to talk about the impact that one can expect from using Leandata.
Yeah, so we have a couple customer references here on the screen. You can take a look at, or if you want to go to our website, we have a handful of more. But high level, we have some core customers across the go-to-market space into AI first types of companies for other areas across the multiple industries that we operate in, and we're seeing value across all of these. So whether that's driving increased pipeline from 6 cents, essentially being able to scale and drive automation and manage multi-complexity go-to-market strategies. So if you're selling multiple products, if you have multiple different types of sellers that are attacking similar accounts, depending on how complex your business is, we can scale with that complexity. Or just in terms of just agility and effectiveness, we are very good at being able to make sure that leads make it to the right person in the shortest amount of time, which has a higher conversion rate. And so, example being Intercom, driving that routing process flow from weeks to hours. So these are just some high level stats, but we'd love to, keep this conversation going for everyone who's in the room. Please feel free to reach out to us. If you're interested into getting a demo, we can go into more details here with you, Rob and the broader group. We'd love to kind of have these conversations in more depth. So, but we really appreciate the time. We'll pass it on now to the next group here.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Mike and Rob. This was awesome. Everybody, this was Leandata. And with that, we're at the end of our demo day today. Amazing event, really great companies, great products. Really enjoyed seeing this, and hopefully there was a lot of good stuff in there for all of you. Just as a quick recap, we saw Breakout, nRev, Fullcast, and just recently here, Leandata. Make sure you follow them, connect with them. There's lots of follow-ups you can have through LinkedIn and various other ways, and hopefully you get to make use of some of these products in the future. With that, we'll close out this session. I believe Jared will have the final wrap-up here in a little bit for all of us. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Manuel. And just like that, Revolt 2025 comes to a conclusion, but not before a tremendous demo day and 3 incredible days listening to some of the most forward-thinking revenue creators in the game. So really quickly, 2 awesome first and foremost, I want to give a massive thank you. Thank you to all the community volunteers that leaned in to help with this whole conference. You've seen them moderating like Manuel and many others. They've also been doing some tech work behind the scenes from start to finish. They've also been moderating Slack as always. So, big shout out. Mike Cubberly is leading that group, but he is by no means alone with that. There's dozens of folks, and thank you. Secondly, thank you to the RevGenius team. We have a young team that worked their absolute tails off for this Revolt. They put in so many hours logistically making this the production that it is. All right. And I couldn't be more grateful to work with folks that gave so much to this community, right? And really, really amped and really, really grateful with that. So I'm going to show really quickly the demo day folks here. That's the next slide. Oh, first off, our partners. Thank you as well to our partners. You saw them scattered throughout the days. You might have attended the roundtables with them on Tuesday. You're going to continue to see them throughout the community. These partners believe deeply in our mission and to help revenue creators like you level up, learn through their technology, but also through their education, right? We're all in this together. And they showed selflessness in helping you learn more about GTM, whether it's in use of their product or outside. And because of them, every year we're able to do this at no cost to you because we want to give access to the whole community to level up. So Fullcast, Attention, X Factor, Zoom Info, Explorium, Leandata, Land-Based, Seamless, and of course the platform Goldcast. Thank you. Without you, it wouldn't have been so amazing. And then the demo day folks, right? We had Breakout, nRev, Fullcast, Leandata, some folks that maybe you had seen before or for the first time. And what a nice mix of really great technologies that are building the future, like that are going away from the legacy tech and going into the new autonomous, right? So now that things are done, two exciting things in closing. One, we have a RevOps pipeline. We're calling it the RevOps pipeline. The name, it's RevOpsPipeline.com. Essentially, what we're doing, and it's about time that we did this, is all the job postings in our Slack channel, as well as some outside that reach out and want to be featured, has a centralized space outside of Slack. Imagine that. So RevOpsPipeline.com is a nice UI that we're creating. It's not just a job board. It's super niche to revenue jobs, GTM jobs, RevOps jobs only, but even more niche than that were posted in the community. So it's not just like a LinkedIn search for RevOps leadership roles, which is kind of hollow. These were posted by community members, and this is just like a really easy to access place. So if you're looking for a job or looking for new team members, hit me up and check out RevOpsPipeline.com. Also, we've been talking about signals, and we've had some really great sessions on that. The greatest possible signal is the voice of the community. I mentioned it earlier today. I sprinkled it, throughout. What we're going to do, and what we'd love to have everyone's help to be a part of, is we're going to be launching the Voice of the Revenue Creator annual report. It's going to be coming out in Q1 2025 after this conference, and we're going to be sending out an email where there's a short 3-minute survey interactiveness where you could submit your feedback for the community. We'll be featuring people all over that submit and allow us to. And the goal is to continuously learn about the space, learn about you, learn about the challenges that you have, so that we can help make it better, and so that we could build a solution really and figure out what that looks like. So that's how we're going to level up for you, with you. And again, this is Revolt 2025, but we have so many amazing events coming up, even in the next few weeks. So we're just revving up. Thank you all for coming. Thank you all for helping. We're all in this together. Have an awesome day.